This is the video introduction for Experiment 14, Build a DC to DC Power Supply Circuit in the Mr. Circuit Basic Electronics Lab 1. This DC to DC Power Supply Circuit shows how you can use a potentiometer along with a transistor to create a variable DC power supply. As you adjust the bias on the transistor with the potentiometer, the output voltage varies from 0 volts to close to 9 volts, depending on the condition of the battery. This particular circuit will only give a stable output voltage as long as you're not drawing more than 50 milliamps. Any circuit that draws a small current at, say, 6 volts would work fine on this power supply. Many small transistor radios run on 6 volts and only draw about 30 milliamps, so this power supply would work just great. The LED in this circuit serves to let you know that there is output voltage. The LED gets brighter as the output voltage increases. Here are the steps that I would suggest to construct this circuit on your solderless circuit board. Step 1. Lay out all the parts needed for this experiment. Step 2. Install the battery snap, the LED, and the transistor. Watch the polarity of each of these parts. Step 3. Install the two resistors, 220 ohms and 6800 ohms. They have no polarity. Step 4. Install the 3 wires of the potentiometer. Be sure to observe the pictorial to make sure that you orient the potentiometer correctly. Step 5. Install the 3 jumper wires. Step 6. Connect the battery and adjust the potentiometer while observing the LED. When the LED is the brightest is when the most voltage is on the output of the power supply. When there are 0 volts on the output, the LED will not be lit. Now I will demonstrate the DC to DC power supply circuit in action. Here is experiment 14, the DC to DC power supply, all wired up carefully. You can see the LED, the 2 resistors, the transistor in the correct orientation, the jumper wires, and I've got a meter hooked up to it, as you can see, and I'm going to measure the output of the voltage of this. So, right now it's connected to the 9-volt battery. If I turn on the meter, you'll see that it's at 0 volts. If I adjust the potentiometer slowly, I'm up to 0.87, 2.62. So you can see that I can adjust the voltage that'll be an output of this circuit. It gets up to 8.27. If you actually need 9 volts, you could just connect the 9-volt battery directly to it. But as you can see, I can twist the knob, and this is a DC to DC power supply. All right, time to get your parts and wire it up and see if you can make it work like I did.